What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. So, a lot of people were asking me about Top Rank Golden Boy, what I see. And I'll say, like Tupac Shakur once said, it's not about East or West. It's about niggas and bitches, power and money, riders and punks. What side of you? No, I'm just fucking with you. Um, I've made videos about this before. Actually, even this year, I made some last year. Actually, last year, early on, like I would say first quarter of last year, when HBO first decided that they were no longer showcasing Golden Boy fighters on their network and the Cold War looked like it was getting ugly, I stated that this was going to be a problem, namely for Top Rank, just because Top Rank, not a bad company, and Top Rank has great fights, don't get it twisted. Bob Arum's been in the business for quite some time. However, I feel Top Rank, more so than Golden Boy, is at a crossroads. Now, HBO as a network is still a great network. Their original programming is awesome. Their cinematography on like the 24/7s and storyline, narration, all that is good. But Showtime is catching up. And Showtime, being that it does business with Golden Boy, and Golden Boy has a large talent pool, and Al Heyman, they've kind of monopolized boxing and taken a lot of the talent of the rising stars. So whereas at Golden Boy Showtime, you got a lot of guys who are still young. Even if they took a loss, they're young enough to bounce back from it. That's not necessarily the case at Top Rank. At Top Rank, if some of these guys that they have take another loss, their career is pretty much in shambles. Like Brandon Rios lost his last two fights, lost to Alvarado and he lost to Pacquiao. Not that he lost to bad opposition, but this is boxing. We have fickle fans. Same thing with Pacquiao. Pacquiao has a 2-win streak, but he's older and he's kind of entering the twilight of his career. And he's not too far removed from a suspect performance against Marquez in the third fight. And I say suspect, it was a close fight, but I think Marquez should have won that and they jobbed him. After that, he lost to Timothy Bradley, highly disputed, but then he got knocked out by Marquez in the fourth fight. Then he comes back with the Rios win, very dominant, and he looked good in spots against Bradley in the rematch. But he's just an older fighter, and people still remember the Marquez knockout and whatnot, so he can't afford to take another crushing loss. Whereas Adrian Broner, he's young, so he can get dominated by Marcos Maidana and potentially bounce back. Will he do it? I don't know. It's all up to Adrian Broner and how he applies himself to the sport. But same thing with other Golden Boy fighters, and that's guys like Canelo. Canelo already bounced back to a degree after the Mayweather loss. He had a dominant performance where he looked good, and he looked very marketable still because he has an entertaining style. He's a boxer puncher. He gives different looks, and he beat Angulo convincingly, despite if you think it was a premature stoppage or not. So with Top Rank, all the fighters aren't like that. Mike Alvarado, he's not far removed from his war with Bradis Prescott. Then he got stopped by Brandon Rios. Then he beat Brandon Rios. Then he got stopped in a worse fashion or equally bad fashion by Ruslan Provodnikov. So if he loses to Marquez, then where does he go from here? He's gonna be kind of reduced to smaller fights, smaller scale fights. I don't see, unless he has a great showing even in the loss, I don't see how that's gonna be healthy for his career, so to speak. So Top Rank has a lot of shop worn and or veteran old competition. Guys like Miguel Cotto, he has a basically he works with Top Rank. He's not a Top Rank fighter per se at this point of his career. He's his own boss, called the shots. Because if you guys remember, they're talking about making a Cotto and Canelo in the future. So Cotto has some freedom there. And then there are other guys like Sergio Martinez and Triple G. Those aren't Top Rank fighters. And now with Mikey Garcia potentially jumping ship and not content, that's bad. You know what I mean? That's bad news. It's like if you look at, I don't know, a record label, let's say Cash Money Records, and then Juvenile leaves, and you have the Hot Boys leave, and then Lil Wayne wants to leave. Lil Wayne is like their bread and butter after everyone else had already left. You know what I mean? The Manny Freshes and BG and Juvenile. So if you only have Lil Wayne kind of keeping you afloat, and he's not content with his contract, or he's on the verge of leaving, then that's not good. And I think Top Rank's in a similar position. Not saying they don't have any talent, but again, some of the talent are veterans and or people who can't take a loss, or stars that are so young that they don't have the capacity to go to the MGM, headline and sell out the crowd. Like there's great fighters like Lomachenko and Felix Verdejo, but they're so young in their pro career. A lot of people are like, oh, they haven't fought anybody. And Lomachenko fought Orlando Salido, but they rushed his career. And now he's 1 for 1. So we have yet to see what those budding stars their full potential is going to be like. And I really don't see them being marketed to the point where they're going to sell out. Like I said, go to the MGM and then fill it up like a Cotto could, or Miguel, or Pacquiao, or Mayweather, or somebody, or even Canelo. You know what I mean? I just don't see them doing those type of numbers until they get more momentum behind them. And then aside from Mikey Garcia, I have sources that are saying that Rigondeaux is leaving Top Rank as well. So it's bad news, you know what I mean? Like I don't see how this is good for Top Rank. Like how are you going to thrive? And then as far as big money fights, like let's say Mayweather versus Pacquiao, everybody wants to see it, including myself. However, I don't think we're any steps closer to seeing that because Bob Arum is still taking jabs. At the MGM before the Pacquiao Bradley 2 rematch, he was saying he was cussing the MGM out basically for having a bunch of Mayweather Maidana posters up. And even after the Pacquiao victory over Bradley, Bob Arum went back to saying stuff. He was basically, what did he say? Oh yeah, he was telling the public and the media and press row to boycott Mayweather Maidana. He said that's the only way Pacquiao fight's gonna get made. So your fighter Pacquiao, when he's fighting Bradley, you're not telling the fucking public to not support the event because it's your fighter, it's your event with your fighters. So you're like, yeah, go ahead and buy this. This is a sensational fight. And now you're saying the only way Pacquiao Mayweather can happen is if you boycott it. So how's that going to make Mayweather want to do business with you or Golden Boy when you're still taking little jabs like that? So if Mayweather and Golden Boy starve him out and don't make the Mayweather Pacquiao fight, which is obviously big money for all parties involved, then they're in a world of hurt. Like I said, Mikey Garcia is a star who's been vested in, like HBO, Top Rank. They've invested a lot of energy, money, promotion, giving him a lot of looks like Mikey Garcia 2 days and let him come and interview on HBO cameras before other fights. They show him in the crowd when it's other people's fights. Like let's say Brandon Rios, Pacquiao, they'll show him in the crowd, things like that. So they've given him a lot of publicity. And if they lose Mikey Garcia, then what, you know what I mean? Top Rank, they have a lot of aging fighters and or people who can't suffer losses, or stars who are so young that they can't really sell out a crowd. You know what I mean? There's other people like Bryant Jennings, Demetrius Andrade, great fighters, but they're still young in their careers to the point where you can't put Bryant Jennings on the main event, not in his hometown, and expect him to do sellout numbers. Like if you take Bryant Jennings and have him fight in Atlantic City and just expect some crazy turnout, you know what I mean? Or put him in the Alamo Dome like Canelo and Trout and see if he does 40,000, you know what I mean? So that's just my thoughts on it. Top Rank still has meaningful matches, but their undercards suck dick, you know what I mean? They have some good matches. The Chavez Jr. and Triple G fight is really closest from what I'm really close to being signed from what I'm hearing. And there's other good fights. A lot of the Top Rank fights that we have seen are good fights. Cotto and Martinez, Chavez versus Brian Vera 2, Lomachenko, Salido. These are good competitive fights, but in the long run, in the big picture, people have short attention spans, if you will. So the fact that Golden Boy has interesting fights as well, like Adesanle Laura and Canelo, plus I think they'll do a better job of stacking the card for their fighter. It's just going to kind of shit on what Top Rank's doing, you know what I mean? And I don't see how people can't see that, because at the very least, if you're paying $70, you're like with Pacquiao Bradley, you really paid $70 for Pacquiao and Bradley too. That's it. Nothing else was that intriguing. Ray Beltran, his initial opponent, that was scrapped, so he ended up fighting a replacement opponent, and it just wasn't the same. Yet you look at Golden Boy, like last year in December, this was supposed to be a pay-per-view, but they ex-nayed that idea. Adrian Broner versus Marcos Maidana was a great fight, and it looked like a great fight on paper as well. And then you had Keith Thurman, Jesus Soto Caras, which was another good fight. And these are what the cards are looking like. Mayweather Canelo, big fight. A lot of people wanted to see it. I was dying to see it. And then you had Lucas Matisse, Danny Garcia, and even the Ishe Smith and fight with Ishe and Carlos Molina. Now, I wasn't really thrilled about that fight, but it was still, it's like a cool throwaway fight when you already have the main event and the co-main event, which is that dope. So that's just what I feel. I think Top Rank, they're an older company, and I think they kind of need to get with the times and work with some of the other promoters and like have a facelift and freshen up their business. Like I said, the undercard game, Bob Arum openly said in the public that fans don't care about the undercards. He said they just care about the main event. That's bullshit. I definitely care about the undercards because that's what's gonna. It's like going to a restaurant and having an appetizer when you're hungry. Like I go to Chili's and get that chicken enchilada soup, and then I get my whatever I'm gonna get for my meal. And just having that appetizer or a couple drinks before your meal, it just gets you in the zone and gets you in the mood, and then, you know what I mean, it makes the whole experience better. So I don't know what the fuck Bob Arum talking about with people don't care about undercards. I certainly do. Let me know what you guys think. Top Rank, Golden Boy, if they lose Mikey Garcia, if they lose Rigondeaux. Just like I said with the Rigondeaux, he's a skilled fighter, and only in boxing do we see it where a fighter as skilled as Rigondeaux gets shitted on by his promotional company and the network he's fighting on. If you're talking about the NFL and you have Peyton Manning, very skilled, people don't like, oh, he's boring. Peyton Manning's boring. All he does is throw the ball. He doesn't run with it. He doesn't do the wildcat. You know what I'm saying? Nobody says that. You respect Peyton Manning, except for the Super Bowl. But you respect what he does and that he has a laser for an arm. Same thing with basketball. If you have a shooter and somebody who doesn't drive to the paint like LeBron with that ferocity, then they're just a good shooter. Like Larry Bird was a shooter. He was a dope shooter. You don't say, oh, Larry Bird's garbage because he's boring, because he doesn't have these like sensational dunks like Vince Carter. But in boxing, that's what people do. They're like, oh, Rigondeaux's boring. He's skilled and he's taking all these things away from his opponent, but he's boring. You know what I'm saying? So only in boxing do we have that dumb shit. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.